this morning to tell me about someone who had been battling the coronavirus. And I don't know, you all might, back in the day, Keith, you might remember Art Bowman. He was a police officer, and someone said, yeah, he told me to text me this morning and told me that he lost his life to coronavirus. And every day, is somebody different. And so when you start, thinking and looking back at yesterday, it makes you so thankful that you are here to see today. And I'm just really thankful to see today and to see you all and to know that you all are well and okay. Because so often we take life for granted. So often we take it for granted. And if this virus don't make you wake up and realize don't take anything for granted, I don't know what will make you wake up. Because we have been known to take so much for granted. So I think we are recording and I think we are live. And so I'm going to again start off by saying good morning to everyone. And for those that do not know, I am your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones. And some know me as the Citizen's Voice. It was a name given to me. And I am joining you this morning for coffee, tea, water, your favorite beverage, and conversation. We are also live on Facebook at facebook.com/CP Brenda Jones. For those who would like to see the panelists, yesterday, Governor Whitmer extended Michigan's stay home, stay safe executive order until May 28th, with some exceptions. I continue to believe that this will save lives and it'll help to restart our economy by allowing manufacturing, construction, and other services to resume. Today, we're going to hear about city services that have resumed in our General Services Department. We also will have a census update. The census is so important. I cannot speak about how important the census is to everyone. And if you have not filled out your census form, please fill out your census form, call someone else and ask them if they filled out their census form. But anyway, COVID-19 has caused the city to not have some normal summer activities due to a $194 million revenue shortfall addressed in the budget we approved on Tuesday, myself and my colleagues, telling us about spring and summer recreation activities that will take place, and sadly, the ones that will not take place is Mr. Keith Thornell. And I know, Keith, I don't never say your last name right. I'm gonna let you pronounce your own last name. I know you by Keith.
That's right, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and I know that this is no fun to be the bearer of bad news, but we just appreciate you being here with us this morning to give us the information. I looked outside this morning after I got up and I said, man, it's a little chilly to be May.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting here wondering, when will we actually see some warm summer days that's going to stay here with us? So Keith, if you would just give us a recreation department update for the spring and the summer seasons. And I heard you all talking about Belle Isle again, and back in the day. And, that was when we had Belle Isle back in the day. And now Belle Isle is the state for probably past my lifetime. They said another 30 years or 20 some years or however many more years. But anyway, Keith, you were out there and you did an awesome job of being out at Belle Isle. But you want to give us an update on what's going on in the city of Detroit and what will and will not be taking place as we approach the summer and the spring.
Thank you, Madam President, for having me on. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to see you well as everyone else. And this is an unfortunate time for us, an uncharted time. We're in uncharted waters. And so for the Recreation Department, you know that we have suspended all operations and programming in our rec centers until further notice because of the governor's mandate and the fact that we have to figure out what the new normal looks like. And so we're having those conversations every day, but we're following, the lead of the governor and the CDC to help us define what that new normal looks like. We're meeting all the time, trying to come up with inventive or creative ways to look at what social distance programming is. Not only are we having that conversation is being had throughout the country with agencies that are grappling with the same thing. So for us right now, we're just focusing on the food distribution for the spring and the summer because again, we're still in the pandemic. And so people call wanting to know if they can reserve shelters or, when of the centers are going to open. And my answer every time is that we're still in the pandemic. And so when we are given the green light to resume activities, we're gearing up perhaps for the fall, then we'll be prepared to roll something out that will allow our citizens to participate in recreation safely, keeping in mind, because even when we come out of this, we're not going to have a vaccine, in my opinion, so we're going to have to define what that new normal is for a year or two. Who knows? So again, we don't know until they come up with a vaccine, and we're just following the science. We're following the lead of the governor and of our mayor. But right now we're doing food distribution at our rec centers, and if people are interested in that information, they can go to the City of Detroit website, detroitmi.gov/food, and they can find all the locations where we are distributing food for families. And so that's kind of what our focus is right now, just making sure that we can help families sustain by providing meal services to them.
Thank you so much for that update. Let me just ask you, and I know you said people are calling and they're asking, so they're not even able to reserve sheds at the city parks at this time?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Do you know that once we start, if it'll still be on a first come, first served basis?
Once we start, typically our policy is that, in a normal situation, we're not in this pandemic era, people, reserve the shelters, so it's not necessarily first come, first serve. We would ask people to reserve those spaces. And so we are encouraging people as they go out into our parks to maintain the social, safe distance and adhere to the social distancing guidelines. And so we're asking people not to gather in large groups and to just be safe. We know we had people out over the weekend. It was a nice day. And some people were acting responsibly, some were not, so it's just a matter of us continuing to say that message and to educate people of the importance of the social distancing guidelines and to keep, themselves and everyone else safe. And so we're asking people, if you go out into the parks, enjoy them, but maintain the social distancing guidelines because we're still in the middle of this pandemic.
Okay. Okay. And I know that the recreation departments already are doing food for the families and for different people who are in need. But what about the summer youth food program?
It's going to continue. It's going to continue throughout the summer. So there will be no break in this in the food distribution. So we're going to transition from what we're doing now to the summer food service program. And so that is something we're committed to throughout the summer. And then we'll see on the fall what it looks like once we get on the other side of the summer.
Okay, and I know that there was a plan for the churches to serve as recreation centers for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
That will still be taking place, or what would happen with that?
Everything is on pause because that lends into programming. And again, as our day camps are not going to occur, the same with all the other programs that we're doing. In a sense, all of that is on pause right now. And so, again, we're following the lead of the governor as far as, whatever orders that she mandates. And so we're just going to follow her lead and follow the science and let it direct us and guide us as to how we move forward. So we're just asking people just to, do everything they can to protect themselves and their loved ones.
Okay, do you have, if someone has, and I know you have to leave because you have another meeting, but if someone has a question for anyone at the recreation department, can you give a number that they can reach someone, or is there an email address that they can email their questions to? We have, just in case.
Yeah, well, our number is 313-224-1100. They can call there and leave a message. And also, there is a email address they can email it to. I can forward that over to you. I don't have it in front of me right now. Try and pull it up here real quick. Hold on. It's Detroit Recreation. I know that, so I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll find it. We'll find it, and we'll give it to the callers, but you all have someone that is checking the lines in case someone calls, and they will call them back if they call the main recreation number and leave a message.
Yeah, they can leave a message, and then we'll respond accordingly.
Okay.
But I think just send an email to Detroit Recreation. I'll send the email out to you.
Okay.
I'll forward it over to you. You can share with your constituents and the citizens. Okay.
Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. Was there any last words you wanted to leave us with before you have to depart for your next meeting?
Just thank you for what you do and trying to and continue to improve the lives of the citizens here in our great city. And we're just gonna stay prayerful and prayed up, and just continue to be strong during this time, and hoping everyone just stay well, take care of yourself, and take care of one another. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much, Keith. You be safe out there, and good seeing your face this morning. And thank you for all that you do as well. We look forward to talking to you as we continue on during the summer months.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for being here with us.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, our next panelist this morning is Mr. Jamal Harrison. And Mr. Harrison is from the General Services Department. I think some of your people are returning back as well.
Yes.
What's going on in your department?
First of all, good morning,
Good morning.
President. Good morning. Good to see you looking so well. Good morning, everybody, and to all those listening to Facebook Live. Good morning. God bless you all. Yeah, we started calling back our seasonal employees this week because of the season is here for mowing, and so we're a little short on the seasonal employees. We typically use about 170. So far, we're at 70, and that's because we are doing an aggressive measure of testing all employees before they can come back. We're COVID testing those, and those that pass, we bring back on, and those that do not, we have to have them shelter in place or quarantine themselves, and then we will retest them. But we're not going to let the lack of a full force stop us from starting our mowing schedule. And so we are going to be mowing. We have the three types of parks we mow. We do the premier parks and the regular parks, and then the green spaces. The premier parks are those parks that have been refurbished or redesigned to have new amenities in them, and they're very active parks. We're going to be mowing those every 7 to 10 days, weather permitting. And that also includes those parks that are joined to rec centers as well, because that's part of that component. Our regular parks, we will be mowing every 10 to 14 days. And those parks, they still have amenities in them, and they may not have just been updated yet, but they're on the schedule to be updated, and we will be mowing those every 10 to 14 days. And then our green spaces are those very open and very large parks that may have a few amenities in them, but they are of lesser use, and we'll be mowing those every 14 to 30 days. And then our vacant lots, we are on a vacant lots. That mowing starts May 13th, and we will be doing a 7-day schedule, Monday through Sunday, on those parks. And weather permitting, we're on a 21-day mow schedule for that. So that means that after 21 days, we have to have gone completely across the city. And in 21 days, on 22nd day, the mayor wants us to start over. So we will be mowing those parks every 21 days, weather permitting, of course. And so we're bringing back as many people as we can. Street maintenance is starting back up soon with street sweeping and street cleaning, because that helps keep those catch basins clear and clean and debris and everything. And especially with all these things that people are discarding as PPE, we want to get those things off the street. And so, and then of course our building maintenance services are continuing. We're still sanitizing twice a day the rec centers and the facilities that are being used, even though we're in this pandemic.
So, and I was having just a little problem hearing you. So I don't know if you talked about the schedule for cutting the vacant lots. Did you talk about the schedule for cutting the vacant lots?
Yes, the vacant lots will be cut starting this Wednesday, starting May 13th, and we're on a 7-day schedule. We're cutting from Monday to Sunday, weather permitting, and we are on what we call a 21-day cut, which means once we have 21 days to cut completely across the city of Detroit for vacant lots. And then on the 22nd day, we'll start back over. And so that'll help keep those fields from overgrowing, those vacant lots from overgrowing. That's a pretty aggressive schedule considering what we're dealing with, but the mayor wants the city clean, and we agree.
Okay, thank you. And besides the vacant lot, what other areas are the responsibility of GSD, and what are Wayne County's responsibilities? Like I know the islands on Outer Drive and the on Livernois. Well, we don't have the island all the way down Livernois now. That has been shaved down some, but there's still a little area on Livernois that is the island. So can you talk about what other areas are the responsibilities of GSD?
Yeah, so the GSD, we're actually cutting all parks, vacant lots, berms, freeway berms, and islands. So Outer Drive, those are the islands that are on Outer Drive, and part of Livernois. That is included in our 7 to 10 day schedule for mowing.
Okay. And so let's go back to the pandemic, and let's talk about the pandemic. And as employees are returning back, how are you maintaining the social distancing for your department?
So when an employee comes to work, we have the screening at the front door. When they come in, everyone gets screened daily. There is the temperature is taken. There is about 6 questions that we ask that can help us to determine if someone has some type of COVID symptoms rather that we got from the CDC and Dr. Dunn from the city of Detroit. And so what we're doing is since we have ground workers, we worked with the CDC, with Dr. Dunn, and with the unions, and we determined what safe distancing would be in the vehicles. And so normally we have 5 people in the vehicle for summer ground work. This year we're only going to have 3. We have the driver and you have 2 in the rear. That's going to be that can be respective of the safe distancing, the social distancing. So we worked with the union on that, and we got to an agreement of how we can do this. And so with that in mind, we just have to utilize more of our vehicles that we were going to be getting rid of. But we want to keep our employees safe. That's primary, that's safety first. And so those are some of the steps we've made. And we have what we call our truck kits. The trucks for grounds maintenance, they have a backup set of a box of gloves, some sanitation wipes, hand sanitizer, as well as goggles, so that and replacement masks, so that if someone gets a mask dirty or a pair of gloves rip or something, they can go right back to the truck and get those new products.
Okay. And so when they first returned back to work, and I know the mayor talked about how he was bringing people back to work and taking their temperatures when they first return. Are you still doing that on a daily basis?
Yes. So we have, there is no one enters the building before going through that screening process. And so we have the person who's actually doing the screening is wearing a protective face shield and all of the appropriate personal protection equipment. And they are the ones that's administering we have a thermal thermometer gun and getting the temperature and then asking a series of 5 or 6 questions. And if they pass those series of questions and the temperature is below the threshold for a low grade fever, they are allowed to come into the facility and start work.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on to our final panelists this morning?
Just to thank everybody for all the hard work that they do, the dedication. You and your staff and the rest of council, you guys do a wonderful job. And I was telling Linda this morning, it's like it's being on this side. I was at the authority before, now on this side, and I'm really enjoying being at an official part of the city. So thank you very much.
And thank you also so much, Mr. Harrison, for everything that you do, everything that all of the staff and all of the workers do at General Services. We truly appreciate you. Also, often there are complaints about, well, this isn't cut and this isn't cut, but we do, and I truly do appreciate the work that you all do. So keep up the good work.
Well, I think, Council President, I do have a few numbers I want to share with you guys. So if someone has an issue, a concern for the grounds and a part that needs to be cut, I want to give you a couple phone numbers for that. So for general services for grounds maintenance, the number is 313-224-5555. For forestry emergency, that's if a tree has fallen on and damaged something, a tree that's in the berm that the city owns. That number is 313-590-3336. And then the general phone number for forestry is 313-871-5461. So that's something if you want a tree trim, you want a tree evaluated, because we still are doing tree trimming at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for giving out the number and giving out that information.
You're welcome.
All right, and if you can just hold on with us, because there might be some questions for you, I would truly appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And our final panelist for the morning is Mr. Steve Mintline, who will give us a census update. I believe I recently read Michigan ranks 4th in the country for returns, but Detroit is very low in city rankings. Is that accurate? And what can we do to have a better return rate?
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me on. I hope everybody's doing well. Unfortunately, it is accurate. The Detroit response rate is pretty low right now. And it was low 10 years ago. That was one of the reasons why we started this program, was to try to increase that self-response rate from the last census. Right now, Michigan ranks number 5 in the country, so Michigan's doing pretty well. But among large cities in the United States, Detroit is, like you said, is kind of lagging behind. We're below a lot of our contemporaries. We're still ahead of some cities like Cleveland, Miami, Newark, but some of these other cities, Baltimore, Memphis, Indianapolis, Chicago, some of these other cities in the Midwest and the Rust Belt. We're slipping behind a little bit. And, you know, I'm going to go through kind of a brief, you know, update on our program and kind of touch on why we think that that these response rates are kind of low and then what we can do to fix that. So basically right now, you know, we're trying to push people to respond, you know, any way that they can, whether it be online or with the paper form that they received in the mail, because this does determine funding for the next 10 years for some really critical programs. You know, right now in particular, a lot of people, you know, didn't realize this, but the distribution of personal protective equipment from the federal government to states and communities within those states is based on the census count. So if we want to make sure that we get our fair share of, you know, personal protective equipment for our first responders and our doctors and nurses, filling out the census is just critically important. You know, it also is funding the school lunch programs that, you know, we're continuing to see, you know, so many great partners, you know, both inside and outside of the city, you know, participate in distributing. You know, we have a congressional seat that we might lose this coming redistricting, you know, coming up in 2022. It's critical that we try to hold on to that separate seat for Detroit, that we have 2 representatives, because the more voice we have in Congress, you know, the more funding and the more resources we see come back to our city. The count is currently scheduled to end in mid-August. However, the Census Bureau is trying to extend that to the end of October, just because everything is just thrown up into the air with their schedule. They were supposed to go out into the field and start knocking on doors and following up with people that didn't do the census next week. And now, you know, they are not currently planning on doing that until August. So they're trying to push everything back about 3 months right now. One big thing that's been coming up lately, this has been spreading around social media quite a bit. You know, it's been, you know, kind of popping up in those text chains that everybody seems to get from time to time with, you know, 10, 15 people sharing information. The census is not tied to your stimulus check. There have been rumors that you will not get your stimulus check until you fill out the census. That's not true. We still want you to fill out the census anyway, just because it's so important that we get this information, that we get this funding. You know, it's just 9 questions. It asks, you know, where you live. It asks who else is in your house. It doesn't ask your income. It doesn't ask your citizenship. You just got to count who lives in your house, whoever eats and sleeps there. Doesn't matter if it's just somebody sitting on your couch for a couple weeks or whatever. If they're living with you, they are counted in the census. Count your kids, count your grandkids. Children are among the most undercounted people in the census because people just don't count their kids. There's a lot of people who believe that you're only counting adults in the census. So we got to make sure that all of our kids are being counted, especially with how much funding is related to children. We have the school lunches. We have Title I funding for our schools. We have WIC funding. We have SNAP funding for food assistance. So much of that is so critical for our children. Detroit received paper forms. Majority of our households did. 86% of our households. That's kind of unusual. This year, they tried to encourage everybody to do the census online. But because Detroit has historically had a lower rate of households that have internet connections, they decided to prioritize sending the paper forms. Unfortunately, you know, the mail's running a little slowly right now. And, you know, I think we've all, you know, probably had an order or 2 that we've ordered online, so we didn't have to go to the store, that's been sitting. And that's been a problem with the census. So we want to try to have everybody fill out the census online if it is possible. The website is my2020census.gov, and I'll repeat that again when I'm done here. And the other option is to do it by phone. So if you can't do it online and if you don't have your paper form, there are phone numbers in English, Spanish, and Arabic that you can call into and complete the census over the phone. In English, it's 844-330-2020. Spanish is 844-468-2020. And Arabic is 844-416-2020. And again, I'll repeat those at the end. They're going to ask you for a 12-digit code. Now, this is something we want to emphasize. If you try to fill it out online or over the phone, they're going to ask you for this code. You do not have to have the code to fill it out. The code would have come to you in the mail. If your mail's not coming, you're not going to get the code, but you can fill out the census anyway. The code just made it a little easier for them to process. So right now, we can talk about these response rates a little bit. Detroit, 43.5% of Detroit households have responded to the census so far. Across the country, the rate is 57.7. So we're lagging behind the national rate by about 14%. State of Michigan is at 64%. So we're about 20% behind the state of Michigan. And the problem that comes up with that is, a lot of these communities that are really filling out the census at a high rate are a lot of these suburban communities that really don't need that funding as much as we do here in the city of Detroit for all these critical programs that we have here in the city. So we're not trying to take money away from anybody else. We just want to make sure that we are getting our fair share that we're entitled to here in the city for every one of our residents. We believe that because of such a low response rate 10 years ago, we probably had an undercount, a pretty significant undercount in the thousands to perhaps tens of thousands of people that just didn't fill out the census. And, maybe when the feds came to the door and knocked on the door, they didn't answer. So they have no idea that these folks live here in the city. So that's the big reason why we're trying to get everybody to respond on their own, because they're more likely to respond if they do it by themselves and actually count everybody in their household than if somebody with a federal badge comes to the door and knocking to ask you who lives there. So that self-response is just critically important. So what we're doing right now as a census team, the three of us, Vicky Kovari is our executive director and Aaron Harris, our deputy director, and I'm serving as the field director, is we had a big plan for the spring, and when we spent a year planning this out, we were going to have a huge canvassing operation. We had all these 501c3s from across the city of Detroit that were going to go out door to door and knock doors in these neighborhoods where the response rate was low. They would have a tablet and they'd ask people to fill it out on the spot. And unfortunately, we can't do that anymore given the health and safety issues. Our other big plan, we were going to go into churches every single Sunday. 5 to 10 large churches. Every district we'd go, every week we'd go to a new district and have all of our volunteers out at the door and fill the census out with people after service. And obviously we can't do that now either. So that's been pushed back. The other plan, we have all these census captains. We have 120 census captains across the city of Detroit. Their goal was to participate in community events across their area throughout the duration of the census. Unfortunately, with social distancing, we can't do that either. So what we're doing right now is we've shifted our plan a little bit. Everything regarding the canvassing and the church visits and the events, we've just kind of shifted that back. We'll do that as soon as we can get out into the community and safely interact with people out in the community. Now, our census captains, who were supposed to be the kind of the liaison to their neighborhoods, they have shifted into making some phone calls for us. We have been able to get a hold of a list of phone numbers across the city. We've got about 150 to 200,000 of them that were acquired from the voter file. And what our census captains are doing is they're making phone calls every week. And we have a goal of making about 200,000 phone calls across the city before we actually can open up and get out into the field. And our captains over the last 2 weeks have already made 25,000 phone calls to Detroiters to encourage them to fill out the census. So that's what we're doing right now. That's our big piece, is to make sure that we try to talk to as many people as we can now, especially when they're, everybody's sitting at home. We're all sitting at home right now. Everybody's there, everybody's got their phone. So hopefully these people are answering the phone and we can talk to them and just let them know how important filling out that census is. And we're just reminding everybody, if you can do it online, do it online. And if you're not comfortable or familiar with filling out on the internet, we have the phone options as well that are there for that the federal government has set up. And that website again is my2020census.gov. And those phone numbers in English are 844-330-2020. In Spanish, 844-468-2020. In Arabic, 416-2020. And you can also go to the city's website, detroitmi.gov/census, and there is a link directly on our page to go directly to the Census Bureau's website to fill out the census. And then you can scroll down a little bit. There's a map on there, and you can look at your own neighborhood and see how your neighborhood is responding to the census, and even compare it to the response rate from 10 years ago to see how you guys are doing.
So is that map, is that map broken down into districts, or how's the map broken down?
So the map is broken down by census tracts because unfortunately the census tracts don't really correspond always to the district lines. Now we can try to get the district lines overlaid on top of it, but what you can do when you click on a census tract, it will show you the council district that census tract is mostly located within. So, and there are some that are right on the border, so it'll show what district it's mainly located in. But the map is really broken down by tract because that's how we get the information from the Census Bureau.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
And I know we did the census 10 years ago. How much money did we leave on the table 10 years ago?
Well, there's a lot of different varying opinions on that because people have some different calculations on just how much money each person brings in when they fill out the census. But we think that we know that even with the conservative estimate, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars over 10 years that we lost out on this decade from folks just not filling out the census or missing people in their own household, particularly children.
Okay. And again, can you just briefly talk about some of the benefits to the city of Detroit if we receive a 100% census count?
Well, you know, some of the biggest benefits, it's just that funding that comes through. I mean, we have these federal programs that are all based on the census count. The Medicaid dollars that come in to reimburse doctors that participate in Medicaid, that's all based on the census count. Food assistance, whether it be SNAP, your bridge cards, WIC for women and infants. We have our school lunches, our Title I education dollars, special education dollars, Section 8. You know, all of that is tied to the census, and those are
transportation. Transportation dollars.
Yep. And that goes through a little weird process because the state kind of has their own formula on how we get that. But absolutely, the state gets it based on the census count.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So what are some of the myths that you've heard that prevent people from not returning their census form?
Well, one of the big ones is even though the Supreme Court struck this down, a lot of people still believe that the citizenship question is on the census this year. You know, the campaign to get that placed on the form was very successful in that it scared a lot of people. So even though it's not on the form, a lot of people do still believe that citizenship question is on the census form. And you know, we have a lot of Detroiters, a lot of residents who are not citizens, and they're worried that that information could be used against them. And that's another myth, that people believe that the census information could be used against them by law enforcement. That is absolutely not true. All of this data is completely confidential. Only the Census Bureau can see it for 72 years. And I don't think I'm going to be here in 72 years. I hope I am. I hope everybody here is. But it's a long time. And 72 years from now, people will be able to look and see, oh, here's where this person lived. Here's who was in their household. But until then, only the Census Bureau is allowed to do that. This has gone up to the Supreme Court multiple times. So immigration can't get a hold of it. Friend of the court can't get a hold of it. If you've got an outstanding warrant, somebody can't come after you, because all this is completely confidential and it's sealed.
Okay. Thank you so very much for that update. It is so important to everyone that you fill out that Census Bureau form. I cannot stress it enough. If you filled out yours, please call a family member and ask them if they have filled out theirs. Please call a friend and ask them if they have filled out their Census Bureau form, because it is just so important that we get the money that we are due from the federal government and that the count is accurate for the Detroit area. Thank you so much. I'm going to open the lines for callers. If you have a question or comment, if you press *9 on your phone, that will put you in line to ask your question. If your question or your comment requires follow-up, Please do not give your address or your personal contact information on the line now. Just call my office at 224-1245 and leave your name and phone number so that we can speak to you directly. I see one caller have their hand raised, and it is caller 534. Caller 534, you have the line. You are off of mute.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, I want to talk to you about something I saw this morning, but in terms of the census, I've been discussing this with a friend, and we are concerned that people are not willing to fill it out, and I think there's kind of a lack of trust in government because people feel like they're only reached out to when people want their vote or account. So I do think that the door-to-door is very important. It's unfortunate people have to do that. I did that in 2010. I reached out to a lot of Spanish speakers in California. But I had a question. I want to say that yesterday I was on the call about mental health, and Council President Jones, I did not drop off. Your staff muted me. And so I'd like to be brief, more brief than I was, but I think that there's a lot of divisive rhetoric going on in the city, and I wish we could all be more inclusive. And I've been reaching out to your office, Mary Sheffield's office, and Janae Ayers' office for a long time about land bank issues and about a proposed development by a community development corporation. And they are violating the land bank rules. They want to build on people's side lots. They haven't been inclusive. And it's been very disappointing that I reach out and people don't get back with me. So is there someone on your staff that I can talk to about that?
If you leave a message, we will have someone call you. Right now, as you know, we have been doing quite a few Zoom calls trying to get information out to people on what's going on in the city. I've been on a lot of calls myself. In between the Zoom calls that we're just doing, I've been on different Zoom meetings with different individuals. So if you call and just leave a message, someone will give you a call back, Ms. Ward.
Okay, very politely, I have been doing that and sending emails.
Okay. All right. Well, we will give you a call, but as I indicated, we have been extremely busy. Also,
I understand, but I've also been raising these issues long before COVID-19 hit. So I understand. I know there's some very important things going on and people's life is at stake.
And I know people have been reaching back out to you from our office and even attending meetings that you have requested that they attend. So thank you for calling, Ms. Ward. And
right, then the information got misrepresented back to City Council.
Madam President.
Yes.
Ms. Ward, did you receive my email where I said I was
When did you send it?
Where I said I was going to set up a meeting with you?
Okay. Yeah, great.
I sent it within the
Great.
last.
Okay, but let me just tell you what prompted the call this morning is there was a surveyor out this morning.
I need to end this conversation and get to the next caller. So
okay. All right. Go ahead. I look forward to it, Mr. Grady.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that have any questions? Do we receive any questions on Facebook?
I'm checking. There was only one question, Council President, that I saw. I will double check. And that was the telephone number for forestry. Jamal, if you could give all of those telephone numbers again, that'd be great.
Yes. Thanks, Linda. So yeah, the phone number for general services, general information line is 313-224-5555. The emergency number for forestry department is 313-590-3336. And the general number for forestry is 313-871-5461.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if we don't have any more callers with any questions for our panelists, I am not going to just keep you on the line because I know we will be back at 12 noon. I want to again just thank our panelists and our callers and our viewers on Facebook. I'm going to Ms. Wesley.
Yes, Council President. I do know that Keith did email the recreation email address. It is Detroit Recreation at DetroitMI.gov. Detroit is spelled out, recreation at DetroitMI.gov.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harrison, did you have some last words you wanted to say?
No, Madam President. I thought Linda was waving at me.
Okay, thank you. And to our lovely gentlemen who have given us all the information on the census, Mr. Stephen Mintline, do you have any last words you'd like to add with your Tiger shirt on?
Well, yeah, I'm missing baseball a lot, so I got to get my Tigers fixed however I can. But no, the only thing I can add is that you just, if you have not filled out the census, go do it right now, send the link to somebody else. I added the link into the Facebook comments, so anybody that's watching on Facebook, you can share that directly on Facebook. But please just fill out your census and tell all your friends and family, fill out the census. Just let them know how important it is and all the programs that it affects for us.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I want to thank you both and thank also our recreation department that had joined us as well. I want to invite our listeners to tune back in at 12 noon today when we will highlight our heroes. Our heroes are the people who go to work every day so we can stay home and stay safe. Please use the same number you used to call us at 12 noon, or you can watch us on Facebook Live. You can follow me on social media, or you can call my office at 313-224-1245 to get a complete listing of all my weekly digital engagements. City Council is also having digital meetings for its regular weekly committee meetings and formal sessions. All the information is available on the city clerk's website. I had a great time this morning sharing coffee, tea, or whatever your favorite beverage is with you and conversations. I am sending a virtual hug to all of the mothers and wishing you a happy Mother's Day. I'm also saying to you on this Mother's Day, please stay safe. Stay home. Send flowers to Mom. But Mom, stay home and stay safe. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. And until we meet again, please put on that mask if you must go out. Continue to wash your hands with warm water and soap. If you are out and there is no warm water or soap, please use hand sanitizer and please practice social distancing. Again, I thank you for tuning in with us this morning. I thank the panelists for being here with us this morning. And this will conclude our coffee, tea, water, whatever your favorite beverage is, and conversations. And again, don't forget to fill out that census form. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.